Okay. What are we talking about today?
I think we need to discuss what's happening in 2025 and in terms of social media with AI. Are we leaning in heavily into AI? What should we recommend to people going into 2025?
I almost don't want to recommend anything because there's too much to talk about. There's actually too much to talk about. I think we need to distill it down to one thing, just being authentic. It doesn't matter what social platform you're on, actually. Whatever channel you're on, that's what you need to be doing. If you aren't doing that, I think you're in trouble.
Let's unpack that.
Okay. I think you need to just have a basic plan. You really need to know what you want to do with social media. It's not just a fact of go and create social media accounts and just start posting on all of them, because it's if you have to look back on it 2 years in the future, you're gonna be like, what was I thinking when I started? Because I had no plan. I didn't know what I was trying to achieve. I didn't have any goals in mind. So depending on your role and your function and what you're trying to achieve, like, what are you using? What do you want to use social media for? Is it to bring in more business? So that's generally what most people are trying to use it for. Okay.
Yeah.
Whether it's indirectly or directly, if you're actually putting listings out into the world to try and get people to sign a lease, or if you're, the MD at a brokerage who's trying to recruit top talent or expand your franchise offerings or whatever. There's such different things.
Yeah.
But now, if you don't have a plan and you're not too sure which platform is the right one, you're going to waste so much time and effort. And then you are going to get crickets because you're going to be posting listings on LinkedIn and everyone's like, we don't want to see that stuff. Yeah. We don't want that,
I saw this thing yesterday when I was walking on the promenade, and it actually made me think about social media and just like marketing in general and like organic marketing that we do, which is obviously majority on social media. And it was a real estate agency had a sign up on the bus stop that said, like, thinking of selling your property, like, call us here. And like, the age of the internet, no one's going to see a billboard on a bus stop and call them and say, cool, I actually am thinking of my property. This is also a high-end area.
Yeah.
And what it made me think about was not necessarily always being top of mind. So big companies that are on social media are probably already kind of high up on like the scale of hierarchy of mind vibes.
You already have a big brand for
them. You're not worried about being, you're fighting for top of mind against other guys that are at the top there. But I think for social media and awareness for companies starting out that are trying to decide on like what platforms to be on, I think it's just a matter of being in that realm of like someone's mind. So whether you're posting like over and over, over a few weeks, and you're seeing tiny bit of traction, there are people seeing your stuff, and eventually and ever so slowly you're getting into that sort of, so then when they see, I see it on LinkedIn as well. I see these, they're almost like LinkedIn influencers at this point, like marketing people, and they're posting stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I actually see this person posting a lot, and I will find one piece of content where I get value from. And I'm like, you know what? I'm interested. And then the next time I see their name pop up, I'm like, oh, cool. Like, what are they talking about now? Maybe I don't have time to look at it, but the next time I see their name again, I'm like, okay, cool. Like they're now someone that's in my realm of thinking.
I think you've nailed that, because it's organic. You're not going to go, you shouldn't have the mindset of going into organic social media with, I'm going to start posting and sales are going to start going up.
Yeah.
This is a long community driven play. And what I mean by that is you're starting to build your community like you would have done if you were a broker, building your contact list and your different clients. And back in the day, you had a little black book and all of that with all those contacts in that you could phone and be like, hey, I've got something new for you.
Yeah.
You're doing the same thing, but that takes a long time to build all of that stuff up. And it's the same with organic social. It's this long-term play. Like, have a 5-year goal in mind
Yeah.
for what you want to do, and then just be consistent. Because the more you post, the more content you put out there that is good, that the audience that you have in mind, you think they will really, benefit from. If you consistently do that 2 to 3 times a week for 5 years, you will build something solid. You will have people that are engaging with you and reaching out to you and doing all of those things. But the hardest thing for in my opinion, for that everyone struggles with is the first 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like quitting smoking.
Yeah. Yeah.
The hardest part is the beginning, because you don't see any traction.
It's like building the habit. Yeah. You got to get into the habit. I think it's also, if you were to picture yourself back in the day, like on MySpace or, whatever platform you are on, and you had no contacts, you slowly build that up. And it's also the same thing as like, you're not going to do well and you're not going to have a lot of friends, like your network, if you talk about stuff that they don't want to talk about. So it's like walking into a party and you don't know anyone there, and there's just a bunch of people, and like you like look nice, you're dressed up, they all kind of talking to each other. It's very like Cape Town cliquey vibes. But if you want to get into a conversation, you have to like be approachable. You go up to them and talk about stuff that's
Buy someone a drink.
Yeah, exactly. You got to spend money to make money. Buy someone a drink, and then talk about things that they might be interested in, and then they introduce you to other people, and then the next thing you know, you're bouncing around the room and you're a known sort of face. And I think one thing to consider is like the use of AI and how that can make things a lot easier for you. You probably have limited time, limited experience.
Game changer.
So yeah, I think considering AI in which platforms, I mean, they're all going to, use it a lot heavier as we go on. But for example, the one that we're seeing now is like LinkedIn has like a fully built-in AI tool for like content creation. There's a lot of social media platforms that we can go down and choose and recommend, and some of them have AI built into them that help you create all this content. But
the authenticity.
It's the authenticity. Yeah. And I think going into 2025, I think there is a greater push towards authenticity with content over just like spewing out AI crap.
So much trash. There's so much trash out there, and I think it's just going to get worse. And I think that what we're seeing now is everyone jumping on the AI bandwagon, which is great because it helps. But there's going to be a massive swing the other way, because if you look at when you Google something now, the top results. Okay, let's go away from the AI results that it gives you and the Reddit results that it gives you. But if you start going to those next actual articles, they are basically just SEO driven articles. Yeah. You won't even find your answer in them. Yeah. They're 3,000 word articles. They are just plugged with keywords, and people aren't writing to give you answers anymore. Google's become a place of, how can I just rank higher for crap?
Yeah.
And it's all because of AI. And there's going to be a huge swing where people are like, we're sick of this. We need that authenticity back.
That's so funny. Weirdly, last night, I was on YouTube. I don't know where I found it. I think it was YouTube. And it just popped up. And it's this guy. It's Dry Creek Wrangler School. And it's this cowboy-looking guy. And he just sits in front of the camera. And he talks about, what is this one? Thoughts on becoming a proper kind of man. All sorts of things, it's like kind of like the father you never had, but he sits there and he just talks about life stuff. There's zero editing, no pop-ups. It's just like, this is 23 minutes of him just sitting there in a chair, smoking a pipe. And he obviously likes to smoke a pipe, and that's his sort of field of interest or whatever. And at the very end of the video, he obviously has sponsors now, and he's like, well, I must mention, this is the pipe that I'm smoking and this tobacco that I'm using. It's like, if you like a fragrant kind of tobacco, I would not recommend this one to you.
So is he not, basically a tobacco influencer?
Well, he's like, there's a whole video, it's just authentic as can be, and just talks about things, and then at the very end he's like, oh yeah, like, if you like this thing as well, like there's a link in the video. But yeah, he's just like the most authentic video I've seen in a long time.
That's cool.
And he's got I mean, for example, that video got 2.2 million views.
You see, like,
That's such a niche as well.
But it is a niche. But I think people appreciate the fact that he hasn't scripted this thing.
No.
He doesn't have talking points. He's not selling you anything. He's just talking about stuff that he likes and he knows.
Exactly.
And there are other people that like that same sort of thing.
I mean, he's got 1.3 million subscribers.
So there are 1.3 million people who are also into the shit that he talks, that he's into.
Yeah.
So if we think about this, there are 8 billion people in the world.
And counting.
There are plenty topics you can talk about where there'll probably be 1 million people who are also into that, at least. Do you know what I mean? So
the odds are high.
That authenticity it's going to come back so heavily soon, because we see this. We see this with everything. There's a new thing that comes out. There's a huge spike. Everyone's like, oh my God, this is the game-changing thing. And AI is a game changer. Let's not do it a disservice. Yeah. But it's going to get to a stage where it's so ridiculous, where the videos are all fake. The scripts are all fake, and it's cool to see it, and it's like, that's really cool. But we're gonna get over it. Yeah. It's gonna get to a point where, like, I don't want to see that shit anymore. It's like when movies use too much CGI. Yeah. It's like, I don't want to see that anymore. I want you to go build a set. Like, I want it to be real.
Do you know what I think it is? I think it's like, by human nature, we still want that tangible, real kind of, like, like traditional, like back to our roots kind of like way of doing things. And, like, if you think about how, like, fashion, like, look at pop culture, look at, like, all the music that it's like super electronic, like, and it influences, like, our fashion. And now look at how country music has made such a comeback, and how, like, now people are dressing up like cowboys.
People are going back to malls, bro.
Like, we're always going back to when we push, but then we come back.
Then we're like, oh.
I know, it's uncomfortable.
Some people stay there.
Yeah, some do.
It's cool. Yeah. But most people come back, they're like, I want to be connected to real stuff.
Yeah.
Things,
yeah.
And if we go back to the social media thing, and we talk about organic social channels and where you should be, have that goal in mind and make that your objective. Like, be as real as you can be. In the 90s and the early and the 2000s, advertising and content was a huge production.
Yeah.
We didn't have
no
okay iPhones that could shoot, So your ad or your video content cost you $100,000. So there was a lot of effort that went into that content, and it had to be perfect. Yeah. So it was scripted. You had actors. It was so scripted and edited that the authenticity level was so low, because people were like, how can I believe this is real? It's such a production. Okay. And people were sick of that. They didn't want to see it anymore. And then we came back to authenticity again. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what happened. It was too much. And I'm not talking about, like, great advertising. I'm not talking about ads that make you laugh. And that's a whole another podcast on its own. But I'm talking about, like, a big company that needs to address something, and they do it through this video. Or how can you believe what they have to say? It's not, you're not going up to them and asking them a question and they're answering you. They've taken 3 months to do this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we used to do a lot of that work, and it started to get to a stage where people was like, and the comments that we used to get were like, we don't believe you. This is all a lie. And
fair enough.
Yeah, but like, you need to change the way we do things. And that's where social media went. And that's what social media, how it changed the game. Because it became a place where you couldn't hide behind editing and all that crap. You had to be real.
Yeah.
And it's going more and more that way. And yes, we're using AI, but I think we can use AI in a way that makes the content that we produce authentic, but really good as well. And I think that's quite exciting if it's used in that way. So yeah, if we're talking about social channels, there are a lot of them out there at the moment, and they're all used for different things. And I think if you understand what your product is, what you're trying to sell, each channel has its own really nice way of doing that. And I know that can be overwhelming because, like, I've got to be on this channel for this and this for that, and LinkedIn for thought leadership, and Instagram for, listings. And so, yes, it does take a lot of effort. But if you've got a goal in mind and it's like, cool, 5 years time, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to be as authentic as I can for 5 years. I'm going to post twice a week, and it's a video, or it's my thoughts and feelings or whatever on the industry. It's gonna eventually grab hold of someone.